Hello! Welcome back to my channel. It is me, Dana G. I hope that you are well. It is February and it is cold. We went from having this beautiful spring weather to all of a sudden now we're freezing. Go figure, it's Arizona. So, answer a question for you. This one came off my Facebook page, which you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. All that information will be in the description below. So if you would like me to answer your question, find me and ask. Anyway, this one came off of Facebook. It says, why did you decide to become a writer? And the answer is that I have always been a natural storyteller. I spent a lot of time making up stories in my head. Believe it or not, I had a very hard time learning how to read. I was in the 3rd grade before I could read fluently. And so I would look at these pictures and I would make up my own stories. And most of the time, I think that my story was actually better than what the story was written in the book. Just because, I think that when you're a natural storyteller, you have this natural ability of exaggerating the truth. So when you take a picture and you put it in front of a natural storyteller, they can look at it and all of a sudden the wheels start turning and there's this magic that happens and you get this fantastic story that's being told. However, I was not a natural writer. I have always struggled with grammar. To this day, I struggle with grammar, which is why I'm so thankful for the program Grammarly. I use that for everything, for my manuscript, letters. Like when I sit down to write a letter, before I send it off, I run it through Grammarly to make sure that I sound like an intelligent person. I homeschool my son and I use Grammarly for all of his essays as well. Just because I'm just not a natural born writer. I don't know. I come up with great stories, but when it comes to the building blocks and the mechanics of putting story to paper, I struggle with it. And so up until recently, anytime someone would suggest that I write, that I become a writer, that I publish these stories that I tell, I would kind of laugh it off and be like, oh yeah, okay. Because I didn't want to tell them that, I had bought into this belief that because I struggled with grammar and spelling and the mechanics of writing, I bought into the fact that I was just too stupid to be an author or to be a writer or, anything more than just a storyteller. Until about 2007, I enrolled in Hudson Valley Community College, and my English professor at Hudson Valley was this incredible woman. And, I was very honest with her. The very first assignment was an essay, and basically what she was doing was we were writing all of these smaller essays as like a precursor to this big research paper that we were going to end up turning in as our final exam. And so I went to her after class and I told her, I was like, I'm going to do the best that I can, but I've always struggled with grammar and spelling. And so if there's any way that we can meet, after school or whenever you have a free moment so I can get some extra help with the mechanics of writing essays and research papers and things like that. And her first response was a natural response, and she handed me this book, and it was like the MLA handbook or something, and I was like, yeah, I have a copy of this. I got it from the student library, but when I open it, I mean, it's like Latin, And so she told me, she was like, well, if I have some extra time, yes, we can totally make an appointment. You can come in and I can help you. And she was telling me that they had this group of like accelerated students that actually offered tutoring and stuff like that. And so she gave me the information of that. And so I went on, and one day after class, she had asked me about my children. And so I started telling her about this journey that my children and I had been on, where we moved from Washington State to New York State and all the adventures we had been on. And, I was telling her about, driving through Ohio and driving through Idaho and stopping and getting postcards that had Mama Potato, Papa Potato, and tater tots. Yeah. And so I was just telling her all of these stories, and she's like, you're a storyteller. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I have kids. Of course I tell stories. And she was like, no, you are a storyteller. And I was like, okay. And she's like, have you ever considered writing or being a writer? And at first I kind of looked at her like, are you crazy? Do you not know who I am? And I told her, I was like, well, I thought I had explained it to you before, that I struggle with the mechanics of writing, and that I needed extra assistance. And you told me to go to this tutoring thing. And she was like, go home and write a story. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And she's like, turn it into me. And this is going to be extra credit. And so I went home and I wrote this story about a sunflower. And it was kind of like me talking to my best friend. And the sunflower represented me. And the feelings that the sunflower had to the sun. Because sunflowers will follow the projection of the sun throughout the day. So literally, a sunflower will face towards the east in the morning, and then during the day you can literally watch it angle in the direction of the sun. And so I wrote this story, and it was like talking about the sunflower's devotion to the sun, and how as the sun is setting, its heart breaks because it's going to miss its best friend. And during the night, its longing is like dying. And it's been a long time since I've even thought about that story. But I handed it in to her, and she took it from me, gave it to this group of accelerated students. They did their magic, and they gave it back to me. And there was so much red ink that I was like, well, now what do I do with it? And she said, everything they've written on there, go do. And so I took it home. I pulled all the pieces apart. I followed the directions, how it was written, and the things I didn't understand, I Googled. And I started seeing that I wrote the story, and then I handed the story to a mechanic, and the mechanic put all the pieces together where it was supposed to go. I rewrote it according to the directions, and now all of a sudden I had a short story. And it went into, every year they had a collection of short stories written by students, and it went there, and my name right there. And to me, it was like, holy cow. And she handed me this book of short stories, and she had it marked where my short story was. And she was like, no one is ever too stupid to achieve a goal. And at that moment, it was like the light switch had come on. And I was like, there's no reason why I can't take all of these stories that I have been weaving in my head since I was a child and put them on paper. And she told me, she's like, write them down. Who cares? Nobody's going to read your rough draft. Nobody's going to see the scribbles and the scratches and all of the smeared ink. She said, what they're going to see is what you give them. And she said, assemble a team, and that team will get you to where you need to be to publish. And, that's where editors come in, and that's where critique partners come in, and beta readers come in. And so as an author, you're not a one-man band. There's not one author who does it all on their own. And when you have an entire world telling you, oh, you're too stupid. Oh, you're too, oh, you couldn't read. You can barely write. No, you can't do this. Yeah, maybe some people can't. But when you have a natural talent, it is a tragedy to push that natural talent aside because someone who never even tried to accomplish the goals that you have set for yourself has told you that you're too dumb to do it. So that's one reason why I decided to become an author, because this fantastic woman in upstate New York who didn't know me from anyone told me that I had a natural gift of storytelling and that I should put my stories onto paper, assemble a team, and become a published author. But I can also say that now that I have opened up to my family and my friends, and I have told them how important this is to me, I have so much support. I have a ton of support from my family. My friends are very supportive of me. I've made a lot of new friends because of my writing and because of my books. And so I chose to become a writer because of this woman. I choose to continue writing because of the support I get from my family, my friends, and my fans. So as long as you guys will continue reading my stories, I will continue writing them. Yeah. So I hope that was a good answer for your question. If you enjoy watching these videos and would like to support me, you can click on the link below to become a patron on my Patreon page. There are several different levels, and each level has a unique gift from me to you as a way to say thank you for all of your support and for your positivity. Until next time.